He read your message and never replied. Days go by, nothing. He watches your stories, maybe even likes a post here and there. But when it comes to real effort, radio silence. And now you're sitting there, questioning your worth, your words, your presence, wondering, what did I do wrong? Pause right there, because you didn't do anything wrong. In fact, what you're about to learn will flip the entire dynamic fast. Here's the truth that most women never get told. When a man ignores you, it's not always about you. It's about control. It's a test, a power play, a psychological move, whether intentional or not, to see how much space he takes up in your mind without even being present. And guess what? The more you react, chase, or overthink, the more power you give away. But in this video, I'm going to show you how to turn that silence into your greatest weapon. Not by begging, not by matching his energy, but by rising above it in a way that bruises his ego without you lifting a finger. You're not here to play by his rules. You're here to learn how to bend the game in your favor. So if you're tired of wondering why he's distant, if you're done playing the wait for him to change game, and you're ready to take your power back, you're in the right place. Because when a man ignores you, this is exactly how you respond. Let's begin. You're vibing, the connection feels strong, conversations are flowing, and then suddenly he changes. He becomes distant, slower to reply, less invested. You feel the shift and your mind goes into overdrive trying to figure out why. Here's the hard truth. When a man pulls away, it often has very little to do with you and everything to do with him. Men withdraw for different reasons, but the core motive usually comes down to emotional regulation and power dynamics. Some men pull away because they're overwhelmed by emotions they weren't ready to feel. Others distance themselves because they start to realize you have more power over their emotions than they're comfortable with. In many cases, it's about control. Men are conditioned to believe they need to lead, to dominate emotionally. And when a woman starts to affect them deeply, especially if she's confident, independent, and unpredictable, they panic. Pulling away becomes a form of self-preservation and manipulation. There's also the thrill curve effect. Some men enjoy the chase more than the actual relationship. Once they feel they've secured your attention, they start to devalue it. Why? Because they don't respect what came too easily. Harsh? Yes, but it's true. Then there are men who use silence to test your reaction. If you start chasing, double texting, begging for clarity, they feel validated. They think, I've got her hooked. But if you pull back instead, if you match their distance with grace, confidence, and zero desperation, that's when you rattle their ego. That's when they start to question whether they're the one being left behind. The bottom line is, when he pulls away, it's not your job to fix it. Don't internalize his distance as a reflection of your worth. A high-value woman knows that anyone who pulls away without communication is showing a lack of emotional maturity, not giving a mysterious romantic signal. So instead of asking, why is he doing this to me? Start asking, why would I tolerate someone who makes me question myself? That question alone puts you back in control. He pulled away. Good. Now watch what happens when you don't chase. Let's get something straight. If a man is used to being the one in control, emotionally, mentally, or physically, then the moment you start pulling your energy back, he feels it. And not just in passing, he feels it in his gut, in his ego, in that space where validation used to live. So what's the most effective, ego-shattering move you can make when a man ignores you? Indifference, not fake coldness, not passive aggressiveness, not I'm mad so I'm pretending to not care energy. No, I'm talking about true indifference, the kind that says your silence doesn't move me, your distance doesn't faze me, you are not the source of my emotional stability. That energy, it's lethal to the male ego that feeds off attention, reactions, and validation. Here's why most men are used to women responding emotionally when they pull away. They expect confusion, sadness, maybe even anger. Why? Because that reaction confirms they still have power over you. Your anxiety becomes their ego boost. Your overthinking becomes their silent win. But when you give them nothing, when your life continues, unbothered, elevated, even glowing without them, that's when it hits them. Wait, she's not chasing me. She's not asking what's wrong. She's not even noticing my silence. That's the ego killer. That's the mirror they didn't expect to face. See, real indifference isn't loud. It doesn't post revenge selfies or vague quotes about knowing your worth. Real indifference is invisible. It's living well without an audience. It's not explaining your absence. It's being so rooted in your own value that his games don't even register. Because here's the secret. Ego feeds on evidence. Every time you double text, over-explain, or ask where things are going, you're feeding his ego proof that he still has emotional leverage. Remove that proof, the ego starts to collapse. And when it collapses, one of two things happen. He either scrambles to get your attention back, panics, reaches out, tries to reel you back in with fake urgency, or he stays distant. And that's still a win. Why? Because you've revealed the truth. If he only valued you when he had power, he never valued you, he valued control. Letting go of needing a reaction is not weakness, it's power. It's knowing that silence isn't something to fear, it's something to master. So if you want to destroy his ego, don't try to outplay him. Don't try to manipulate back. Just remove the oxygen. Stop feeding the cycle. Let him sit in the silence he created and watch what happens when it echoes back without you in it. And the moment he realizes he's no longer the center of your attention, that's when the ego cracks, loudly, painfully, desperately. You didn't fight, you didn't argue, you simply stopped responding. And that silence, that was the loudest answer of all. Silence. It's not just the absence of noise, it's the presence of control. And when used correctly, silence becomes the most powerful message you'll ever send without saying a word. Here's the thing. Most people panic in silence, especially in relationships. We've been conditioned to believe that if someone pulls away, we need to fix it, chase them, clear the air, or make it right. But what if I told you that doing nothing is sometimes the most strategic thing you can do? When a man starts ignoring you, the instinct is to fill the gap, to reach out, to break the silence. But that's exactly what he expects. That's the trap, because the moment you break the silence first, you're confirming that he's still in control, that his withdrawal affected you, that he has the upper hand emotionally. But when you meet his silence with silence, you change the entire narrative. Silence creates space for reflection, for tension, for realization. And men feel that space in a very particular way. Suddenly he's not hearing from you. He's not seeing your name pop up. There's no check-in text, no emotional outburst, no reaction, just silence. At first he may think you're playing games, but as time passes, a thought creeps in. Wait, is she really done? Did she detach? Did I lose access to her energy? That's when silence becomes power. Because silence is not passive. It's not weakness. It's a boundary. It says, I refuse to compete for your attention. I refuse to reward inconsistency. I refuse to chase validation. I should have been given freely. It shifts the pressure back onto him. Suddenly he's the one wondering. He's the one overthinking. That silence becomes the mirror he has to look into. And trust me, it reflects every action he thought you'd tolerate. Silence doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough about yourself to stop entertaining confusion. To stop pouring energy into a person who's proving they can live without it. And the beauty of silence is that it forces a decision. When there's no emotional reaction from you to feed off, he has two options, step up or step out. And either way, you win. Because silence filters out emotional laziness. It exposes who's willing to show up, and who was only ever interested in control. So if you're tempted to break the silence just to feel something, stop and ask yourself, what am I chasing? Clarity or connection? Or am I just uncomfortable with the space that's finally showing me the truth? Let that silence speak for you. Let it echo your self-respect, your confidence, and your refusal to beg for bare minimum effort. Because sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. Energy doesn't lie. And when you shift yours, everything around you begins to recalibrate, including him. What most people don't realize is that attraction, power, and influence aren't always about what you say or do. It's about the energy you radiate when you finally decide to stop waiting, stop chasing, and start operating from a place of self-worth. When a man ignores you, he's subconsciously expecting you to shrink, to doubt yourself, to chase. That's the energetic pattern he's banking on. But when your response is not desperation but elevation, that's when the game changes. That's when he starts to reconsider. The energy shift happens the moment you stop centering him in your emotional world. You're no longer refreshing your phone or wondering what he's thinking. You're busy. You're focused. You're investing in yourself. You've emotionally detached, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. This isn't about pretending. It's not about faking confidence or posting highlight reels to provoke jealousy. That's still attention seeking. The true energy shift happens when your actions no longer revolve around being seen or chosen by him. Instead, your life becomes a reflection of you choosing yourself. He may not notice it right away, but he will feel it. He'll feel the energetic cord weakening, that invisible tie that kept him comfortably knowing you were still emotionally available. It starts to fray. And when that comfort disappears, his ego starts to panic. Why isn't she reacting? Has she moved on? Did she stop caring? That's the shift. You're no longer the version of yourself that tolerated breadcrumbs. You're operating on a different frequency, one that doesn't require validation from someone who couldn't meet you halfway. And here's the twist. It's often in your absence, in your silence, in your new boundaries, in your glow-up, that he finally begins to understand your value. He replays the last interaction. He rethinks the last message. He starts to notice the space you used to fill. That absence becomes presence, but by then, you've changed. You're no longer reacting, you're observing. You're no longer hoping, you're choosing. And when he tries to circle back, he's met with a new version of you. One who doesn't bend, one who doesn't settle, one who now sees him for what he is, not for what she wanted him to be. So remember this, the most powerful shift isn't in what you say or how you try to get his attention. It's in how you shift your energy inward, how you reclaim your time, your peace, your power. Because the minute your energy says, I don't need you to notice me anymore, that's the minute he finally does. When a man goes cold, it triggers something deep. Suddenly, everything feels uncertain. Your mind starts racing with questions. Did I say something wrong? Did I do too much? Not enough? And in that space of confusion, panic takes over. That's exactly when most people make their biggest mistakes. So let's talk about what not to do. Because if you can avoid these emotional traps, you'll stay in your power, and that's exactly where you need to be. First, don't chase him, don't double text, don't call just to check in. Don't start breadcrumbing your own self-respect, hoping he'll throw you a response. The moment you start chasing a man who's pulling away, you send a very clear message. Your value is conditional. Conditional on his attention, his response, his effort. That's the fastest way to disempower yourself. Second, don't try to force clarity. Yes, communication is important, but not when it's one-sided. If he's chosen silence or coldness, that is communication. He's saying, I'm not showing up for you right now. Accept it. Don't beg for answers from someone who's already showing you who they are with their inaction. Third, don't start proving your worth. This is where many women go into overdrive, trying to be more available, more loving, more understanding. You start overcompensating, hoping that if you're perfect enough, he'll come back around. But that behavior doesn't earn respect. It signals desperation. A man who goes cold needs to feel the absence of your warmth, not the pressure of your pursuit. Fourth, don't play mind games, posting thirst traps, making him jealous, acting like you're unbothered while secretly checking your phone every 5 minutes. That's not power, it's performance. And men can sense when you're doing something for their attention versus living your life on your own terms. Energy doesn't lie. Fifth, don't internalize his behavior. This one's crucial. When someone becomes distant, we tend to take it personally, thinking we weren't enough. But his coldness is not a measurement of your worth. It's a reflection of his emotional capacity, or lack thereof. Don't let someone's inconsistency rewrite the story of your value. Lastly, don't wait. Don't pause your life hoping he'll wake up. Keep living, keep shining, keep showing up for yourself. The more you center him in his absence, the more power you give away. Instead, let his silence be his story, and write a better one for yourself. Because here's the truth. A man going cold isn't the end. It's a mirror. And what you do in that moment, how you carry yourself, how you respond or don't, says far more about you than it ever will about him. Stay grounded, stay soft, but most of all, stay unavailable to anything that makes you question your worth. When a man pulls away or starts acting distant, your response determines everything. Not just the outcome of the situation, but the energy dynamic between the two of you. And if you want to shift that dynamic back in your favor, you don't need to argue, plead, or explain. You just need to respond like a high-value woman. So what does that look like? A high-value woman doesn't beg for clarity. She creates it with her silence. She doesn't demand respect. She moves in a way that makes disrespect impossible. And she doesn't react emotionally to mixed signals or inconsistency. Because the truth is, when someone pulls away, that's not your cue to run after them. That's your signal to pause and watch. And this is where the ego trigger comes in. Most men who play games or go cold expect one of two things: that you'll chase, or that you'll quietly wait, hoping they come back. Either way, they stay in control. But when you give neither, when you do something completely unexpected, like emotionally detaching, living well, and refusing to explain yourself, that's when the ego takes the biggest hit. Because now you're no longer a participant in his pattern. You've exited the emotional tug of war he thought he had with you. And he doesn't know what to do with that. What stings the ego most isn't anger, it's indifference with grace. Not blocking him, not posting dramatic messages, not cutting him off in a storm of emotion. No, you simply stop engaging, stop rewarding his behavior with your time and attention. That subtle withdrawal, done with dignity and silence, is devastating to someone who's used to being chased. You don't text, "Why are you acting like this?" You don't say, "I deserve better," and wait for him to agree. You show him with your actions that you've already moved accordingly. And the moment he sees that you're no longer emotionally available, that's when he starts to panic. Because men know the difference between a woman who's pretending not to care and one who genuinely doesn't need his validation anymore. He starts checking your stories, maybe sending a "hey" just to test the waters. But your response is light, neutral, self-assured. You're not being cold, you're being clear. You're not playing hard to get, you're just not available for confusion anymore. That's the power move. That's the ego hit. Because it's no longer about you wanting him, it's about whether he still has access to you. And once that access is gone, or limited, he's forced to confront the very thing he took for granted, your presence. High value isn't about playing games, it's about holding standards. And when your response is rooted in self-respect, emotional discipline, and calm detachment, it does more damage to his ego than any argument ever could. There's a big difference between playing it cool and playing it right. And if you don't know which one you're doing, you could be unintentionally sabotaging your self-worth in the name of keeping your dignity. Playing it cool is all about appearances. It's performative. It's when you pretend you don't care, while secretly obsessing over his every move. You're holding back texts, watching his stories, crafting the perfect Instagram caption to look unbothered. Meanwhile, your entire emotional world is still centered around him. You're not detached, you're just pretending. You're still in the game, you're just trying not to look like it. But playing it right, that's entirely different. That's not about pretending, it's about being done with the performance altogether. When you play it right, you're not thinking, "What will make him chase me?" You're asking, "What actually serves my peace?" You stop living in reaction to his behavior, and you start responding based on your standards. Playing it right means you're not operating from fear or ego. You're not trying to make him jealous. You're not trying to win. You're not using silence as a punishment or attention as a weapon. You're grounded. You've decided if he wants to pull away, that's fine. I'm not here to beg for breadcrumbs. Your peace is not up for negotiation. See, when you play it cool, you might win the short-term game. You might get a text back. You might even spark his interest again, for a moment. But it's built on manipulation, not authenticity. And anything built on performance eventually collapses. When you play it right, you don't chase closure. You become it. You don't mirror his energy just to keep score. You stay rooted in your own. Whether he shows up or disappears, your self-respect remains untouched. And that's rare. That's what stands out. Because the truth is, men can sense the difference. They can feel when you're still emotionally tangled, even if you're playing it cool. But when you're genuinely unbothered, when you've redirected your energy toward yourself, your goals, your glow up, that's when everything shifts. Playing it right doesn't mean being cold. It means being selective. It means choosing yourself without apology. It means you're no longer interested in games. You're only interested in clarity, consistency, and emotional maturity. And if he can't bring that, you'd rather stay in your own lane than entertain chaos disguised as love. So ask yourself honestly, am I playing it cool to keep his attention? Or am I playing it right to protect my energy? Only one of those paths leads to peace. Only one of them brings your power back. The other just keeps you stuck in cycles you were never meant to stay in. Play it right. Walk away when it's no longer aligned. And let your silence, your glow, your calm confidence speak louder than any performance ever could. If you want a man to miss you, here's the truth. You don't have to chase, beg, remind him of your worth, or prove your value. You don't even need to say a single word. What you need to do is disappear from the places he once found you, and show up stronger in the spaces he never expected. Making him miss you isn't about manipulation. It's not about trying to trigger him into reacting. It's about removing your energy and doing it so effortlessly that the absence itself becomes deafening. Because when you stop reaching out, when you stop checking in, when you stop checking in, when you stop emotionally investing in someone who's inconsistent, he will notice. But here's the trick. He can't miss what he still has access to. If you're still liking his posts, watching his stories, sending just thinking about you texts, or even waiting for him energetically, he doesn't feel your absence. You're still there, just quieter. To make him miss you, you need to create a void, not out of spite, not to hurt him, but to return to yourself. That energy you were giving to him, redirect it. Use it to level up, reconnect with your passions, surround yourself with people who pour into you, and most importantly, detach from the idea that his attention is the prize. Here's where the psychology comes in. Most men are driven by curiosity and ego. When you stop chasing, they assume at first that you're playing hard to get. But when that silence stretches out, when he checks and realizes you're really gone, that you haven't viewed his story, haven't checked in, haven't even flinched, that's when his mind starts spinning. Did she move on? Was she never really that into me? Is someone else giving her what I took for granted? That's where the seed is planted. That's when missing you becomes inevitable. Not because you forced it, but because your absence made space for him to feel the weight of your presence. But here's the part no one tells you. If he doesn't miss you, if he can live in your silence and never reach back out, that's your answer. That's your clarity. And that's still a win. Because you didn't chase, you didn't beg, you simply walked away with your dignity intact. So no, you don't make a man miss you by proving your love harder. You make him miss you by becoming unavailable to the version of him that couldn't show up. And by the time he figures it out, you've already elevated into a space where crumbs aren't enough anymore. Your power isn't in being unforgettable. It's in being unreachable once your standards are crossed. That's how you make him miss you, without a single chase. Here's the ultimate truth. In any relationship, you deserve to be the prize, not the option. And that distinction, it's everything. It's the difference between feeling valued, respected, and cherished, and feeling like an afterthought, a backup plan, or a convenience. Being the prize means recognizing your worth and refusing to settle for less than what you deserve. It means understanding that your time, energy, and love are not just gifts, they're treasures. And treasures don't get tossed around carelessly or hidden away for someone to maybe notice someday. When a man pulls away or ignores you, it's easy to slip into a pattern of trying to prove your value. But here's the catch. Your value is inherent. It's not something you earn by chasing, begging, or accommodating. It's something you own simply by being yourself. When you act like the option, you're giving away your power. You're allowing someone else to dictate your self-worth based on their inconsistent attention. And that's exhausting. That's draining. That's a cycle that keeps you stuck in uncertainty and doubt. But when you step into being the prize, everything changes. Suddenly, you hold the cards. You set the boundaries. You decide what behavior is acceptable and what isn't. You don't wait for permission to feel worthy. You claim it. Being the prize isn't about arrogance or superiority. It's about self-respect and clarity. It's about knowing your non-negotiables and refusing to compromise on them. It's about showing up with confidence, grace, and emotional maturity, no matter what the other person does. And here's something powerful. When you embody that energy, the right people will notice. They won't try to play games or pull away because your standards are clear and your value is undeniable. They'll rise to meet you, or they won't. And either way, you're protected from the heartbreak of chasing someone who isn't ready or willing to meet you halfway. Remember, love isn't a battle to be won or a prize to be fought for. It's a space of mutual respect, trust, and effort. And if someone can't meet you there, it's not a reflection of your worth, it's a reflection of their readiness. So as you move forward, commit to being the prize in your own life, invest in yourself, cultivate your passions, your confidence, and your happiness independent of anyone else's validation. Surround yourself with people who lift you up and honor your worth, and most importantly, never settle for being the option. Because when you stop settling, you open the door to real, lasting connection, the kind where you're not just wanted, but genuinely treasured. So walk away from anything less than that. Walk away with your head held high, your heart protected, and your energy untouchable, because you are not an option. You are the prize. Own it, live it, be it.